Good afternoon. I'm Jessica Robinson, and I hereby call this May 21st, 2026 meeting of the Staunton Planning Commission to order. The first item on our agenda this evening is the approval of the April 16, 2026 meeting minutes. Any comments or changes?
Yeah, there was one slight error in the minutes, but like that to the clerk.
Correct. Yes. Thank you.
Okay. Anybody else? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
Madam Chair, I recommend that we approve the minutes of the April 16 meeting as amended.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the April 16, 2026 meeting minutes as amended. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Aye.
Ms. Wiggin,
Aye.
Ms. Robinson,
Aye.
Mr. Kyer,
Aye.
Mr. Tomaso.
Aye.
Motion carries.
All right, the minutes have been approved as amended. We now turn to the new business on our agenda this evening. Several items on the agenda tonight are public hearings. After the staff report is given and the commission has the opportunity to ask questions of staff, the applicant or the applicant's representative will be given the opportunity to address the commission, to make comments about the request and answer any questions that the commission may have. Thereafter, the public hearing will be opened and the floor will be open for comments from the public here with us and on Zoom. All speakers in the auditorium should come to the front podium and first provide us with their name and address before speaking. We ask that the applicant limit their comments to 10 minutes and that all of their speakers limit their comments to 3 minutes. Also, please remember the public hearing is a time for the commission to listen to your remarks. In an effort to encourage and maintain orderly conduct, we will not engage in, give, or take debate. If you're seeking information, you may mention that during your comments, and a member of the community development staff may be in touch in the days to come. All right, with all of that said, we'll turn to item maybe 3A, which is a public hearing and consideration of request by Alma Road LLC to vacate, discontinue, and abandon a portion of undeveloped Anthony Street lying between 107 National Avenue and 111 National Avenue. I actually have conflicts with all of the items on the new agenda tonight, so I'm going to hand over the gavel to my vice chair and step down, and she will conduct this portion of this evening's.
So with that in mind, thank you. Mr. Hartless will give us the staff report on the proposed vacation.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Alma Road LLC is requesting to vacate a 0.155 acre portion of undeveloped Anthony Street. That portion of undeveloped street runs between 107 National Avenue and 111 National Avenue, and it terminates into the side property line of 111 National Ave, which is the location of Staunton Wrecking. The street was originally platted in Augusta County, and it was annexed into the city in 1986. Staff has reviewed this request and has identified no issues. A portion of the undeveloped street will remain open to provide access to the rear of 103 and 105 National Avenue. No other properties are impacted by the vacation. The only properties impacted are those two that are owned by the applicant. Vacation of a portion of the undeveloped street has no impact on the usability of any other undeveloped streets or alleys in the area, and staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval.
Thank you, Mr. Hartless. Do any of the commissioners have questions for staff at this point?
Ma'am.
Yeah, okay, then, you please give us the applicant's statement and answer questions if we have any for you.
Well, I'm Jason Almroad. I own Almroad LLC. I reside 717 Mount Tory Road in Lyndhurst. Just thank you for your consideration. Do y'all have any questions for me?
Are there any questions?
I do not.
Let's have a seat.
Thank you.
At this point, I am going to open the public hearing. And as Ms. Robinson requested, if you have anything to say about this, please come to the podium, give us your name and address, and we'll be happy to listen to your comments. The public hearing is open. Is there anyone who wishes to speak? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
There are no hands raised.
Thank you. Seeing no one?
Actually, hold on. Oh, We have hands raised now.
Okay.
All right. Okay, Saint Crawford.
So would Mr. or Ms. St. Crawford please state your name and address for us and give us your comments? If you'd like to make comments on this alley vacation, please let us know.
Okay. Yeah, I sent a message to ask to unmute.
You need to unmute your, so we can hear you, please.
Sounds like this.
Okay, we'll move on to the next one. Sharon D. Crawford.
Ms. Crawford, would you please make sure you're unmuted and then give us your comments, please, or your questions?
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Oh, okay. I'm where's my note? One moment. I'm was speaking regarding the Elaine D. Crawford LLC property. So I was just questioning on the location, and I know that part of National is close to Anthony Street. And so I was just making sure, if I'm unsure of things, how can more things be clarified? Does it have to be, a decision has to be made right now?
We are talking about that section of Anthony Street that is between 107 National Avenue and 111 National Avenue. If you have internet access, which it appears that you do, if you go
Yeah.
into the city's website, there are maps on the, as part of the
Okay.
information packet for today. There's a map that shows you where it is.
Okay. So it's not interfering or intervening, anything like that. Okay. I was trying to help Saint become unmute. He's probably having difficulty to do that. So I'm trying to help him. And is there anyone else there? Because I thought some others that I knew may possibly have some input or concern.
We had asked, and no one who is currently present had planned to, in the chambers had planned to speak to this.
Okay. All right. I thank you.
So we still have Saint that we can ask him to unmute again. And then we have another one. It just says CEWAL that has their hand raised to speak. If need be, we can put the map up on the.
Please.
That's a
Okay.
good idea.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Let's see.
Now that,
And then let me share. One moment. Share. Okay, so Ms. Crawford, you should be able to see on your device the map. You're
Okay.
muted.
Yes.
We have the portion of this undeveloped street. Keep in mind, this is undeveloped. There's no street there. There's some gravel. It looks like a gravel road or an alley or a driveway. But it's only the portion that's outlined in red that has the label there. That's the only piece of the undeveloped street that is currently under consideration where it's been requested to be vacated. It's just that piece that's outlined in red.
And to clarify, the
Understood.
applicant owns both sides of the
Yes.
portion under consideration.
and is Mr. Crawford hearing this as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Should be. Do you want me to move on to?
Yes,
Mr.
would you
Crawford?
move now
Okay.
to the third person, please?
Okay. Let me go to him. All right, Mr. Crawford should be able to speak up.
Mr. Crawford, would you like to make any comments to us?
Still muted.
He's not muted.
A little. We cannot hear you. Can you speak a little louder, please, or a little closer to your device?
I'm helping him. One moment.
Thank you.
All right, go ahead.
Okay, yes, Saint Crawford.
Please go ahead.
Hold on. I think there,
Okay, go.
My comment is that the portion of Ashley Street that is being deleted will leave Ashley Street a dead end approaching that area. And I'm wondering, is there some way of eliminating a dead end street, either by requesting a turnaround at the end of the street? The turnaround will give other investors become interested in the property north of Anthony Street. But with a dead end street, there will be less interest. So my suggestion is, or asking, can there be a turnaround at the point that Anthony Street is being deleted?
I don't think you understand where the part of Anthony Street is that we're talking about. There is no actual street there now. It's on a map, but there's no pavement. So it's not blocking a street where we might need a turnaround.
Okay, now will that leave Anthony Street a dead end street once that portion of the street has been removed?
Really?
It will bring the dead end up. It's already a dead end.
I see it's already a dead end and we're just shortening that distance from the beginning of that street to the dead end.
Okay, that was my comment. Comment was to keep an interest in future development on the north side of the street.
This property's over that way is what you're talking. I think you're.
Yes.
So to create, turn around a cul-de-sac, someone who owns property around that area would need to dedicate that land to the city to be used as right-of-way. Without that right-of-way, that's the only way we get enough width there to create a cul-de-sac. I do not see a way where this section of street would ever be built. The city's not interested in owning a street that only provides secondary access to two lots. I don't think it would ever be constructed. I don't think the developer would ever see a need to construct it. If property in the area were ever developed for any kind of industrial use or for residential use under this new traditional residential development district that we have, the developer is going to plat new streets when they plat new lots, and we'll get streets that are up to city standards with proper cul-de-sacs, turnarounds, or connections. But I don't see this street as it's platted ever being constructed.
Okay. I think, Mr. Anthony, you may be thinking about a different part of Anthony Street than we are looking at here to actually, this is not a built street. You can't see pavement there. So I think that may be the issue. I don't think we need a turnaround, which is what staff is saying in this area. Is there one more person?
Yes, there's another person.
Then could we go ahead to that third person, please?
Okay, CEWAL.
Yes.
Good.
Please give us your comments, your full name and your address first, and then whatever comments you'd like to make.
Yes, good evening, council. I would have the interest there on this dead end street. Would there be any way that it will be eliminated with a stop sign there if it's going to be National Avenue, dead end, before you turn?
Do you have a map in front of you, Mr. Sewell?
There.
Can you see the map? We don't have, it's just an end of Anthony Street that is not actually a street at the moment. It's not paved. And
So
so
in the future, you're saying there will not be open as a street?
no, we're just vacating a very small portion of the street that's a paper street right now. It's on paper, but there is no pavement there.
Well, what I'm saying is, if he wants to vacate that, why would you want to vacate something that's not there in the beginning?
He wants to own the property. Right now, a piece is,
That belongs to the state.
has a proposed street on it. He wants to remove that and make it a part of his lot, and it will have no effect on anybody else.
Okay. Now, on that lot there, I, with my age, that was already on that property before it was made, you're saying, a street. That was on that property existing back to the line where it is now, on the north side of the red line. That was already on that property there. And by it being a street, and you said it was annexed in 86.
Yes.
It belongs to the state and he owns it.
If it was annexed in 86, wouldn't it have been notified before now?
The applicant has decided to come forward now, and that's why it's on our agenda today.
Okay. So Mr. Almarad will has some area about the property that when he bought it, someone has not surveyed that correctly, as I understand in my 80 years. But that was already there for the property of that there, because that really there's the whole standing yard, what you see now on the thing. That has been a farm. It was a farm back in 1952. It had always been a farm there that came across all the way to National Avenue.
I understand, Mr. I think we're going to have to stop your comments now. You've gone over your 3 minutes. And we'll keep in mind that there's some confusion over where this is, because I think that your comments are not relating to the actual part that we're working with today. So thank you for your comments.
Can you provide your name and address, please? Sir? Okay.
My name is Cynthia Crawford,
Hi, Mrs. Crawford.
and I'm a resident of Staunton. I heard it mentioned a couple of times that it is not a street as of now. Are there plans for that to?
No. It was, I don't like to take our time to explain this now, but I think there's so much confusion that we need to explain that there's streets on paper, which the city at one time, actually probably when we had annexed it, there was a street proposed there, but it's never been built. And at this point, we don't have any, the city has no intention of putting a street there. And Mr. Alma Road has asked to have that vacated so that he can own that piece of property as part of his surrounding property. And that's what's happening. So.
Thank you.
Thank you for asking. Is there anyone else who would like to comment on this matter? Then I'm going to close the public hearing and the matter rests with the commission. Do we have any questions for staff or the applicant?
No, I do not.
Okay, thank you. Well, then I will be willing to entertain a motion, please.
Yes, Madam Chair, on the basis that this request would serve the interests of public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice, I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of the requested street vacation.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend approval of this proposed street vacation. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Hanson,
Aye.
Ms. Wiggin,
Aye.
Mr. Carr,
Aye.
Mr. Tomaso,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. This matter will be heard by the City Council at its meeting on the 25th of June in this same spot.
If I could say something real quick,
Yes,
just for a minute.
please.
Anyone who's confused or concerned, wants more information, whether you're on Zoom or you're here in the audience, call the office. Let's set up a meeting. I'd like an opportunity to explain it better before this goes to council so that everyone understands exactly what this request was about and how these undeveloped streets work, and how streets get built and how they become public. I think if we could sit down and talk about that and I could explain it, I think it would alleviate a lot of the confusion. And I'd like a chance to do that with you before this goes to council.
Thank you. Item 3B, which is a public hearing and consideration of a request by the Young Men's Christian Association of Staunton, Virginia to rezone 802 North Coulter Street from B3 Planned Business District to P1 Professional District Conditional. Mr. Hartless, Planning Manager for the city, will present the staff report.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This is a request by the Staunton YMCA for a rezoning of 802 North Coulter Street from B3 Planned Business to P1C Professional District Conditional. The property is located on the west side of North Coulter and is adjacent to the YMCA's main campus. Property consists of a building, which is approximately 1,736 square feet in size on 2 floors, and a lot that is approximately 19,600 square feet. The city's real estate records indicate the home was constructed in 1920, was originally used as a single-family home, and the YMCA purchased the property or acquired the property in 2006. The current B3 planned business zoning allows for a wide range of business uses, but it does require a special use permit for any new use or any change in use. The applicant has submitted proffers with this rezoning request, and those proffers would eliminate many of the potential residential uses. In P1 professional zoning, any residential use in our R1 district, R2, R3, or R4 is permitted. Now, that would be single-family homes, two-family homes, and a wide range of apartment uses. The applicant has offered to eliminate the R3 and R4, so take out the multifamily and the two-family, and in essence, they're limiting the use of the property, the residential use of the property, to only single-family dwelling. Staff has reviewed the request, has not identified any issues. A change in the use of the property to any professional business use would likely require a building permit and possibly a site plan of development submittal for staff to review. Surrounding zoning is R2 low-density residential to the north, R2 low-density and P1 professional to the east, B3 planned business to the south and west. The surrounding uses include a mixture of residential, business offices, and retail. The city's comprehensive plan, future land use map designates this area as low-density residential. The low-density designation includes a proposed density of 1 to 5 units per acre. While the proposed zoning is not entirely consistent with that designation, as this does allow for some professional uses, the rezoning does help to create a transition area between the existing B3 planned business and the adjacent R2 low-density residential zoning, and staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval of the rezoning.
Thank you, Mr. Hartless. Do members of the commission have questions for staff? Okay, then if the applicant would like to come forward, we'd be happy to hear from you. Mr. Cole, would you please
Good
give us your
evening.
name and address?
Josh Cole, 1016 Ridgemont Drive in Staunton, and Executive Director of the Staunton Augusta Y. And I wanted to thank Mr. Hartless for explaining all that.
Do you have anything you'd like to add?
I do not.
Are there any questions for Mr. Cole? And if you'll have a seat, I'm now going to open the public hearing. If there's anyone who'd like to come forward and speak to this matter, please join us at the lectern. Is there anyone on Zoom?
No, ma'am.
Seeing no one standing, I'm closing the public hearing and the matter rests with the commission. Are there any?
Well, Madam Vice Chair, I will suggest a motion to approve this on the basis that the rezoning will serve the interests of the public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice. I move that Planning Commission recommend approval of the zoning of 802 North Coulter Street from B3 Planned Business District to P1C Professional District conditional with the proffers offered by the applicant.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend approval of this rezoning. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Mr. Tomaso?
Aye.
Mr. Hanson?
Aye.
Ms. Wiggin?
Aye.
Mr. Carr?
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This matter will be heard by the City Council at its meeting on the 25th of June. So we turn now to item 3C, public hearing and consideration of an amendment to section 18.20.030, uses permitted on review of chapter 18.20 R1 low density residential district and section 18.25.3030, uses permitted on review of chapter 18.25 R2 low density residential district of Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code to add private day nurseries and kindergartens. Mr. Hanson.
Madam Vice Chair, I have been working on this property that we're talking about here, so I'm gonna unfortunately have to recuse myself from both items C and D.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Hartless, would you please give us the staff report?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. The Young Men's Christian Association of Staunton, the YMCA, is requesting an amendment to the city zoning code to add private day nursery and kindergarten to the list of uses that are permitted on review in our R1 and R2 zoning districts. Private day nurseries and kindergartens are more commonly known as child daycares. Currently, our child daycares are only permitted in certain zoning districts and most commonly through a special use permit process. I will note for clarification that the zoning code defines day nurseries private as any place, home, or institution which receives 6 or more young children conducted for the cultivating the normal aptitude for exercise, play, observation, imitation, and construction. So this category is for daycares that accommodate 6 or more children. If a daycare provides care for 5 or less, those kinds of daycares are in-home daycares, and they could be conducted in a residential district with a home occupation permit. But what we're talking about here are your larger, more commercial-oriented daycares. Staff has reviewed this proposal, and it is supportive of the requested amendment. The special use permit process allows each application to be evaluated based on its own specific location. Some of our R1 and R2 areas are suitable for daycares, while others are not suitable. This special use permit process allows the city to make this evaluation and establish any reasonable conditions necessary to ensure compatibility with the surrounding zoning. And staff is recommending that Planning Commission recommend approval of the amendment.
Thank you. Do the commissioners have any questions for staff?
Yeah, I've got a couple of questions / statements. The zoning piece of this is probably the easiest hurdle for someone who wanted to open a daycare in any of these R1, R2, R3, R4 areas. The state process is extensive, including an in-home inspection to verify the suitableness of the property inside and out. My question is, the staff notes state that some R1 and R2 areas are suitable and others are not. My concern is, what criteria would we be using to make that determination?
During a application for one of the special use permits, it would go through a staff review. We pass it out to our development review staff, the city engineer, public works, fire department, planning and zoning staff, the building official. They all evaluate the application. They look at water and sewer availability. They look at the street network system in the general area. We'll look at the size of the property. Any factor that could play into how this use could conflict with the surrounding uses in the area. And then staff will make a recommendation. And then when we prepare the report for the planning commission meeting, we'll include all of staff's comments and a full picture of what of the results of staff's review.
And the special use permit is tied to the property itself.
Yes, it runs with the land. So once it's issued, it is issued for that piece of property and only that piece of property.
So in the event that a special use permit comes before the commission, it's approved, goes to council, it's approved, and either the state certifies the property for a daycare or they do not. That property will still have a special use permit in place, but will not be operating as a daycare. Is there a way to follow up with I just don't want these things hanging out there with a condition, a special use permit that's not being utilized. Does that make sense?
If the property is never converted to daycare use, that it never assumes that use. It remains whatever it was. And a future applicant who wished to open a daycare would then have to do through the process again. It's not just a blanket. This could be a daycare, 20 years later, it never happened, but someone decides they want to do it. It doesn't, you can't just pick up years later. It has to commence. The use has to commence, or the next person has to go through the process again.
Understood.
Are there other questions? Okay. Then if the applicant would like to come forward and talk to the commission, please.
Josh Cole, still 1016 Ridgemont. I want to thank Mr. Heartless again for explaining all that. And this is something that we're hopeful can be approved. And we look forward to the potential of doing childcare on this property. We bought the property or acquired the property in 2022. And at that time, we had the idea that we would be doing summer day camp. Later that year, we became aware of community childcare and their needs and help them move forward. And really, we see the need for childcare in this community, and we hope this meets with your agreement.
Ms. Robinson.
And to piggyback, Jessica Robinson, 580 Hilltop Drive here in Stanton. I'm also on the board and the executive committee at the YMCA. And in general, the YMCA is to serve the community, is a not-for-profit, and has been involved for years in after-school care and have become aware in recent years of just our community-wide need and deficit of community childcare centers for, daycare, kindergarten, pre-K, that sort of thing. And the fact that it can only be in R3 and R4, we hope that this can extend and to provide some more appropriate areas across the city. We're hoping that other people other than the YMCA will see this and maybe perhaps use it as well, because it's such a dire need in the community. So we really think that this, obviously it serves our intent and purpose, but we think it is across the board, across the city, a need in our community. And that's why we're advocating not just for our zoning, but for R1 and R2. And because it's by special use permit, as Mr. Heartless said, it will give the commission and staff and council at each request to review each piece of property on a case-by-case basis and see if it's appropriate. So here we're just asking, if this is recommended for approval, then we'll get onto the specific site. But regardless, we think that this is a good thing for the city as a whole. We have a dire need for more childcare. And, we're increasing and we're building more apartments and facilities, and that's just going to increase the need even more in the future. Any questions? Thank you.
Thank you. All right. I'm now going to open the public hearing. Please come to the podium and give us your name and address. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to this matter? Do we have anyone on Zoom?
No, ma'am.
Okay, then I'm going to close the public hearing and the matter rests with the commission.
Madam Chair, if I could say one more thing, I'll go back to Mr. Tomaso's question. I had to look it up here. It's 5 years. An applicant, once the special use permit is approved, they have 5 years to establish the use, or the special use permit is void.
Right.
I didn't want to say that before because I wasn't positive.
Yeah. As long as there's a cap. So.
Okay, so the matter rests with the commission here.
I did a little, because you say you're opening up to two other new zoning options for having daycares. You're like, oh, there's going to be a run on daycare. Based on the research I did today, looking at Google Maps, there's only one daycare operating in R3 right now in the entire city. So I don't think we're going to see there's not going to be a run on daycares. Let's put it that way. I could only find one. Everything else is in business or professional. So.
Have a motion, please.
Yes, Madam Vice Chair, on the basis that it would serve the interests of public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice, I move that the Planning Commission recommend approval of an amendment to Section 18.20.030, uses permitted on review of Chapter 18.20, R1, Low Density Residential District, and Section 18.25.030, uses permitted on review of Chapter 18.25 R2 Low Density Residential District of Title 18 zoning of the Staunton City Code to add private day nurseries and kindergartens.
I second that.
Thank you. It's been moved and seconded that we recommend approval of this change in the zoning ordinance. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wiggin,
Aye.
Mr. Kyer,
Aye.
Mr. Tomaso,
Aye.
motion carries.
Thank you. This matter will also come to council on the 6th of June, on 25th of June. We turn now to item 3D, which is a public hearing and consideration of a request by the Young Men's Christian Association of Staunton, Virginia, for a special use permit at 575 New Hope Road under the provisions of Staunton City Code 18.20.030. Mr. Hartless, would you please give us the staff report?
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. This is another request by the Staunton Augusta YMCA for a special use permit to use property located at 575 New Hope Road. The property consists of approximately 35 acres and is currently developed with a pavilion and athletic fields. The property is zoned R1 low density residential. It has a considerable amount of area in the floodplain. In November of 2021, the YMCA was granted a special use permit to use the property for outdoor recreation and as a summer day camp. Now they are requesting to add additional uses, which include a daycare for up to 120 children, which would operate year-round, a teen center for up to 130 teenagers, which would operate during the school year, potentially a pickleball complex, and possibly more athletic fields and a basketball courts. The daycare is currently not a use permitted on review, and therefore would require a zoning text amendment, which would be handled through the previous matter, and that needs to be approved by City Council before they could consider approval of this special use permit. In your packet, we supplied you with a copy of the application, which includes a letter of explanation for the intended use. There was a traffic impact analysis, which was prepared and presented to the city. Our transportation planner, city engineer have both found this traffic impact analysis to be acceptable. Staff has reviewed the request and has found no issues. Construction of the pickleball complex, athletic fields, basketball courts would require a site plan, which is already in the review process. The zoning code does not establish any criteria to be used when evaluating applications for recreational uses not operated for gain. In evaluating this application, we looked at the impact on the recreational use on the surrounding properties. We looked at the traffic impacts on New Hope Road. We looked at the existence of the floodplain and development potential of the property. We also looked at the comprehensive plan and its recommendations for the property. The surrounding properties include a mixture of uses, including agricultural use, industrial use, religious use, and single-family residential on large lots. Although a recreational facility of this size will impact the area due to the seasonal and daytime-only use of the facility, these impacts should be limited. Parking analysis indicates that 84 parking spaces are required for the existing uses, plus the proposed daycare, teen center, pickleball complex. The site plan is currently under review by staff, and it does show 204 parking spaces. As I said earlier, the traffic impact analysis has been reviewed by our transportation planner and our city engineer. They found the TIA to be acceptable. Our transportation planner is here tonight, and if you have any questions about that TIA, that traffic impact analysis, I know she would be happy to answer those after the staff briefing. An attached map illustrates the surrounding zoning. Zoning to the north and south is I-1 light industrial. Zoning to the east is R1 low density residential. And zoning to the west is R1 low density residential and B3 planned business. And that B3 planned business is the Stewart Hall Athletic Fields. The city's comprehensive plan, future land use map designates this area as conservation, recreation, open space, and also low density residential. The future land use map is a generalized map. It is not property specific. And the requested special use permit is consistent with the conservation, recreation, open space designation. Furthermore, the proposal is supported by the following recreational objectives of the comp plan: to provide appropriate facilities and programs to adequately meet the recreational needs of the community, continue to support and provide facilities for activities and passive recreation activities, to provide opportunities for social interaction, to work with the local YMCA and similar organizations to provide joint programs and to supplement resources, and continue to support a network of parks, both small and large. City staff is recommending approval of the special use permit. And we have given you, as you requested, a list of potential conditions that you could choose from. Number one, all structures or uses within the floodplain must comply with the floodplain regulations set forth in Title 18.170. All required parking spaces determined to accommodate the uses of the site shall be provided on site, and all arrival and departure activities for children shall also be done on site. Condition number three, the following conditions shall apply to all exterior lighting of the property. And the first, the athletic field shall not have stadium-style illumination. All exterior building mounted lighting must consist of full cutoff style fixtures. All exterior fixtures shall be limited to 3000 K or less light color temperature. Light spillover at any property line may not exceed 0.5 foot candles. Mounting height for all exterior fixtures shall not exceed 24 feet, measured from the ground to the bottom plane of the portion of the fixture emitting light. And finally, all exterior lighting must be turned off after 11 p.m. After that, which is necessary, other than that, which is necessary for security as determined by the zoning administrator and reflected through the lighting portion of the approved site plan. The zoning administrator may grant exceptions to these limitations for specific uses on the site or for special events. All requests shall be submitted to the zoning administrator at least 7 days prior to the event. Condition number 4, all trash collection dumpsters located on the site must be fully screened by a dumpster enclosure and gates. The dumpster enclosure shall be constructed of either stone, masonry block, metal, wood, or composite materials to the satisfaction of the zoning administrator and reflected on the approved site plan. And then the final 2 conditions are actually requirements of the zoning code, but we wanted to put them here and memorialize them as conditions. Number 5, the fenced play area is required in the current zoning code and shall be maintained for the duration of the special use as a child daycare. And finally, number 6, the daycare must meet all the requirements of the Virginia Department of Health.
Do the commission have any questions for Mr. Hartless or staff? Yes.
Mr. Harless or Ms. Wilson, was the TIA done after the receipt of this application, or was it done before?
So could you answer when it was submitted? Because I'm not sure.
The TIA was submitted with a site plan, which was submitted prior to this special use permit application. The applicant submitted the site plan initially not sure that they needed a special use permit or that child daycare wasn't permitted.
So the traffic study was done without.
It was done and it accounted for the daycare.
It did.
Yes, they did not realize they needed a special use permit for the daycare component. So the daycare was included on the site plan and it was part of that.
It captured 2 visits for 120 kids. It captured, well, the teen center is via bus, I believe. So that's really, it's no impact whatsoever. Okay, thank you.
And it, of course, included those pickleball courts, which are.
And also, though that traffic study satisfied, there were two conditions on the original approval by the Planning Commission in October and the City Council in November. There were 2 traffic-related conditions that were there. This traffic study satisfied those 2 conditions, therefore they came off the list.
Those 2 conditions were addressed in the 2021 site plan when they constructed the pavilion in the first of the athletic fields.
Any other questions? Okay, then I'm going to ask that the Mr. Cole come back to the podium again, please.
Hi.
Hi. I do have a question for you, please.
Sure.
Will the pickleball facilities be indoors?
Yes.
Thank you. I was a little concerned about the amount of noise that all those enthusiastic pickleball players might have if they were outside. And since you're thinking it could at some point be a 24/7 activity, I didn't want the neighbors to have to deal with pickleball at 3 o'clock in the morning outside. So thank you.
Sure.
I have one. Through the school season, there's a lot of kids that walk from the schools to the current location. With the teen center so far out on New Hope Road, how do you foresee getting kids for after-school programs or just going to the Y after school?
Sure. We've been able to accommodate a lot of those with the buses from the city schools. They've been transporting the kids from the middle school to the Y Teen Center. And that's where we see most of that teen center applying.
Questions?
Mr. Cole, the daycare for 120, it's up to 120. Do you have a feel for what the need is for how many kids?
Here I need to rely on some other resources in the community. CAPSA and the Community Foundation have both undertaken studies that say that the need is far greater than that.
So it's data driven.
Yes.
Thank you.
Yeah. Additionally, Head Start had done work as well that shows that it's far in excess of the 120.
And 24-hour pickleball? I mean, that's a serious thing?
I think pickleball is a serious thing at this point. Yes.
We can just call it a cult, perhaps.
Okay.
Okay.
And if I can commend you for your pointing out the difficulty in getting licensed childcare through the state. Thank you.
And one more question. Did you have a question? Oh, okay. Well, I have one here. You heard the conditions read. Do you have any problems with any of those?
No, I think that there's certain special events where we feel like we're a help to the community, including like post-prom parties and after graduation events. But I think meeting those expectations and having a week to get the zoning administrator's approval on those will be something we can live with.
Thank you. I'd heard that that was possibly an issue, and I'm glad to hear that it seems like it's going to work out.
I have one more pickleball question.
Go ahead.
If it is a 24-hour activity, I mean, are you required to have on-site security or medical or anything else? Or how do people, I'm assuming they're going to sign up for court time. And so that's going to be regulated. But, what's they're on private property with, is it supervised? Are you going to have someone there 24 hours?
I think we're asking for the most that we would be looking for. I think initially we'd be opening it up and making it during staff time. You are seeing nationally, you're seeing a trend towards fitness facilities being 24/7 and having that availability. Typically, they're monitoring it with video cameras and things like that and not having it staffed. But, again, this is where we are right now in pickleball world and in fitness facilities.
Because, lighting is not, it's not an unimportant thing. It's a large problem. Require a lot of lighting. There are neighbors. There's not many, but they are neighbors, and they are going to be light impacted by this property. So I'm just curious. I don't want these things blazing 24/7 if they don't have to be. That's my point.
I think you're talking about a pickleball facility that would be indoors, so most of that impact would be inside.
But the parking lot has to be lit.
Correct.
No, it can't be a dark, right? Yeah.
Correct.
So I guess piggybacking off of your 24/7, how do you feel accommodating condition 3F with the lights being turned off at 11 p.m.?
I think that, we're going to work with the conditions you give us. And, I think that there will be minimum security or minimum levels of lighting. You're seeing that now with the pavilion. The pavilion has security lighting on there, but it's distance from the road far enough that it isn't really an issue. I think that with this facility, you've got the pickleball complex along New Hope Road. So I think that would cut off most of the things that are happening in the parking lot from your general drive, your neighbors and your other traffic. Yep.
And if I could jump in on that, that's something that the provision why they had suggested that it be at the zoning or administrator's approval and on the site plan is the hope is that through the site plan review process, that they can work with staff to come up with something. Mr. Hartless, had mentioned that there's, you can dim all of the lights, to a certain wattage or, just certain ones would be on, that sort of thing. So they would work with them to do that and they plan to check with insurance and make sure that they're doing the things that they need to do. And I think that the police department has an interest and they don't want it to be maybe not completely dark. And that's why that's in there. So that as the site plan process continues, that they can come up with something that makes all of the departments of the city and the applicant happy.
Are there any other questions for? Thank you. I now open the public hearing. Is there anyone here who would like to speak to us about the special use permit? Is there anyone on Zoom?
No, ma'am.
Seeing no one, I think we will close the public hearing and the matter rests with the commission.
Madam Chair,
Yes, please.
I suggest we move forward. There's a motion on the basis that it would serve the interests of public necessity, convenience, general welfare, and good zoning practice. I move that the Planning Commission recommend that the City Council approve the requested special use permit. You want me to go through all? Okay, perfect. With following conditions. 1, all structures or uses within the floodplain must comply with the floodplain regulations set forth in SCC Title 18.170. Condition number 2, all required parking spaces determined to accommodate the use of the site shall be provided on site, and all arrival and departure activities for children shall also be on site. Condition number 3, the following conditions shall apply to all exterior lighting of the property. 3A, the athletic fields shall not have stadium-style illumination. 3B, all exterior and building-mounted lighting must consist of full cutoff style fixtures. 3C, all exterior fixtures shall be limited to 3,000 K or less light color temperature. 3D, light spillover at any property line may not exceed 0.5 foot candles. 3E, mounting height for all exterior fixtures shall not exceed 24 feet measured from the ground to the bottom plane of the portion of the fixture emitting light. 3F, all exterior lighting must be turned off after 11 p.m., other than that which is necessary for security as determined by the zoning administrator and reflected through the lighting portion of the approved site plan. The zoning administrator may grant exceptions to these limitations for specific uses on site or for special events. All requests shall be submitted to the zoning administrator at least 7 days prior to the event. Condition number 4, all trash collection dumpsters located on the site must be fully screened by a dumpster enclosure and gates. The dumpster enclosure shall be constructed of either stone, masonry block, metal, wood, or composite materials to the satisfaction of the zoning administrator and reflected on the approved site plan. Condition 5, the fenced play area is required in the current zoning code and shall be maintained for the duration of the special use as child daycare. Parentheses, requirement of the zoning code 18.105.0601. Condition 6, the daycare must meet all of requirements of the Virginia Department of Health, requirement of the zoning code 18.105.0602.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we recommend approval of this requested SUP. Would the clerk please call the roll?
Ms. Wiggin.
Aye.
Mr. Kyer.
Aye.
Mr. Tomaso.
Aye.
Motion carries.
Thank you. This matter will also be considered by the City Council at their meeting on June the 25th. Welcome back.
Now that we have everything back, we will turn to the next item on our agenda, which is old business. Doesn't appear that we have any old business. Is that still the case?
No, ma'am, no old business.
All right. Next, we turn to other business.
No other
Anything to add?
business.
All right. And items 6, actions of city council. Could you please update us on any actions of city council involving planning and zoning since our last meeting?
Certainly. So at the city council meeting last week, May the 14th, council approved a rezoning request by Fisher Auto Parts for rezoning of 855 Statler Boulevard from industrial to B2 general business. Council also approved the special use permit for the McIntosh Village planned residential development.
All right. Next, we turn to item 7, which is matters from the public. Are there any other matters other than those discussed already that a member of the public would like to discuss? Do we have any hands raised on Zoom? All right. With that, then, I will say that the next Planning Commission meeting will be June 18, 2026. And if there's nothing else, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
We are
Seconded.
adjourned.
Thanks.
Sorry about that first thing, but I